Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Percentile Vice's walk through and play through of Blackwater Creek. We're now in session 2. I am Steve. I am your keeper of arcane lore, and
I'm Emily. I'm playing Alice Green, the antiquarian.
I'm John. I'm playing Jackson Morris, the cowboy bootlegger, and I will be monitoring chat today, so don't you start nothing, because I got my eye on you.
hey, make spot idiot roll.
Extreme success.
So, as a recap, last week, two very different adventurers came to Blackwater Creek through two very different methods. Miss Green, you were contacted by your friend Rick Stevens, the private investigator, who had just taken a case from the folks at Miskatonic University to go and find the missing or unheard from Professor Henry Rhodes. Rick Stevens needed your help because he was wrapping up one case. When this case started, he couldn't turn down the money, so he asked you to cover for him. So you've gone to Blackwater Creek to see if you can find the missing Henry Rhodes. Jackson Morris, on the other hand, a bootlegger from Boston, has been sent to Blackwater Creek to try and convince the Carmody brothers to switch their moonshine operation from the Wheeling crime gang over to Jacqueline McBride's crime gang. And you've got 10,000 big ones in your pocket ready to go and convince the Carmody brothers to come to work for you. You arrived in town without much trouble, but definitely not easy. For Miss Green, the jalopy of a Model T that the private investigator loaned you broke down on the side of the road, but Good Samaritan Jackson Morris was passing by and stopped and offered you a ride into town. It was getting late based on some information that you'd gotten from a local you met along the side of the road. You headed straight for the Jarvey Farm to find lodging for the night. When you get to the Jarvey's Farm, you found them about to burn the carcass of an apparently diseased pig. And then we're invited in for dinner, lodging for the night. One room with 2 beds, but not being a married couple, Mrs. Jarvey would not allow the 2 of you to stay in the house. So Miss Green will be staying in the house, and Jackson Morris is taking up his quarters in the barn. As night fell and things grew quiet and everybody went to sleep, and then about 3 o'clock in the morning, you heard an incredible uproar come from the farmyard. Animals screaming and howling. May have even heard some human voices in there. So, Jackson, when you come to, when you awake and in the barn, you have this unmistakable feeling that you're being watched. There's a clatter going on in the barnyard. You wake up on a hay bale and you feel like you're being watched.
Gonna look around, see if I can spot anything hidden looking at me.
It's pretty dark in here. Do you have a light source?
His shining personality.
Probably not.
Well, make a luck roll. Maybe you get lucky and you remembered a pack of flashlight.
A luck roll, you say?
So
Did that make it?
it did. 30 versus 55. So yeah, in your little travel bag, you reach in and pull out a flashlight, and you flash it into the barn right around you, and what you see is a semicircle of barn rats staring at you.
Just surrounding me?
Just being a semicircle, one couldn't call it surrounding, but yeah, they're just looking at you.
All right, I have my boots next to me. Gonna pick up my boots and start swinging at them and shooing them off.
So they start to move out of the way, but it would not be what you consider scurrying or scampering away. It's almost like nonchalant, looking over your shoulder as they move back some, take up other positions, and just keep looking at you. But there's a clear path to the door now if you're headed outside.
All right, I'm going to throw my boots on as fast as I can and grab the shotgun and grab my vest, which I'm sure I don't sleep in, and hat, and make my way out.
Okay. Ms. Green, you've woken up in a strange bed. It takes you a couple seconds to remember where you are and why everything around you looks strange. But there's an ungodly howling and caterwauling coming from the farmyard right outside.
So I'm going to. Do I have a window in my room? I'm assuming.
There is, but it's facing out towards the fields and not towards the center yard.
Well, then I will probably grab, like my coat, my sweater, whatever, and put it on and kind of walk downstairs and see. I'm not going to go outside per se, but I'm going to see if Mrs. Jarvey is up and about and try to figure out what's going on before I go outside and see what's going on.
Okay. Do you have any weapons on you or take anything like that?
Weapons, possessions. I have a switchblade that, I will take with me.
Gonna be doing knife tricks on the way.
Yes.
Okay. So you come down the stairs. The front door of the house is standing wide open, and you can see out into the moonlit courtyard, farmyard. Nobody else is still in the house, or not where you can see. Out in the barnyard now, you see, and Jackson, you've come to the opening of the barn, so you see as well. That fine gentleman that you had dinner with last night, Old Pete, scraggly white beard, looks just ancient, and there's a little, stained trickle of tobacco juice in his beard. He is on his knees, screaming, almost unintelligibly, but you hear him saying words like, mother, and help me, just screaming in terror and calling out for his mother. At this, both of you hear in your mind the voice of your own mother in a soft sobbing and words like, help me, come to me, for a moment, and then it passes. Hopefully you give me a sanity roll.
I had a success out of 45.
I had an extreme success.
You don't even like your mom. You're like Mama Bessie.
Okay, so with all the commotion that's going on, you're either able to like just push that out of your mind or think to yourself, but man, I think some weird shit, you know, and you just chalked it up to strange thoughts running through your head. There's a part of you that, no, I actually heard a voice,
Right.
but you battle against it. It's like, no, it's just weird stream of conscious thoughts going on.
Right.
The animals are all going crazy, right? There's horses over in their barn. There's cows in one little paddock area, and then there's the pig house and the pig paddock, which is the biggest part of the operation. And squealing and neighing and mooing, lowing is going crazy. And standing in the middle of the yard, looking from old Pete to all the animals, is Malcolm Jarvey. And he's looking around trying to figure out what's going on. He's disheveled. He's wearing, like pajama underclothes kind of thing. Think old Western, maybe
Long
one
johns.
button of his back flap is not hooked up. But he's got his boots pulled on. And at that moment, you hear the crunching of wood as this huge boar, Malcolm Jarvey's prize boar, busts out of the paddock. He's got huge tusks, and he is enraged, and he is heading straight for Malcolm Jarvey.
I am going to take a shot. Describe to me, is taking a shot here safe?
It is right now. There's enough distance between the pig and Malcolm Jarvey, and the line of shot that you would take. Maybe some of your pellets might hit the side of a shed or something, but
No people.
no people to worry about. So let's do this. What is your dexterity, Jackson?
62.
62. Now, you came out with your shotgun at the ready. So combat rules for Call of Cthulhu. So when you have a readied firearm, you act at dexterity plus 50. So for purposes of turn order, you're operating at 102. Because firearms work fast and you had one ready. Alice, what is your dexterity?
51.
51.
We're so dexterous.
What was your dump stat?
For me, size of a 40. I'm kind of petite.
Mine was appearance.
Mm-hmm.
I'm kind of ugly.
Second one.
You're good. Appearance, I'm at 60. Like I'm decent. I'm only a little more attractive than you. But really, my credit score helps a lot of that. The fact that I have so much money.
Okay, so Jackson, you're up. You've got the first action here. The boar is enraged at a full boar trot, heading towards Malcolm Jarvey with thoughts of goring his owner in his mind. You can read it in his eyes. What are you going to do?
Jackson tracks him, center of mass, pulls off a shot as soon as he gets a good feel for it.
Okay. So give me your firearms roll. And the pig is too enraged to attempt the dodge defense that he could use here. So that's success. You got a hit on the board. So roll your damage for your shotgun.
Why did that just come through so loudly? Okay. So might help if I knew what the damage was, eh?
Any name of that?
No, I think he's got it.
What is the range?
I'm going to say you're at a medium range.
So 20.
Yep.
That's 2d6. That roll.
8 points of
8.
damage. It's a solid shot on a 2d6.
It is. So the majority of your buckshot blast into the side of the boar. Chunks of him go flying. It's a pretty solid hit. But he's still up, and he's still running towards Malcolm Jarvey. So, Alex, that makes it your turn.
So in the way we're set out, is who's closer to me, Malcolm Jarvey or Old Pete?
Let's. Old Pete.
Okay.
Old Pete is like right outside. He's in the center of the barnyard, but his little shack is just to the side of the house, and so he's come out there, still screaming unintelligently, but you keep hearing words like mother, whatnot. And Malcolm Jarvey is a little farther off to your right, because that's where all the animal paddocks are and everything, so he was headed that way to see what was up with it.
Okay. So I think I'm going to try to go to Old Pete and see if I can't, like, rouse him and try to get him to go either back to the house or back to his shed, whichever's closer, and just try to get him out of the open area and out of the line of fire and stampeding and all of that.
Sure. So you take your turn getting to Old Pete. When you get there to him, you notice that his voice is unintelligible as it has been. You can now see why. Dark fluid is just gurgling in his mouth, like so full of this. And in this light, you first think that it's blood, but you get just quick enough look that you realize it's way too dark, way too black
Right.
to be blood. But his mouth is so full of it that he is choking on it. So we're going to call that your turn. Just stew on that information.
Yes,
right?
I will.
All right, so the boar then for his turn is going to finish closing the distance to Malcolm Jarvey, and he is going to attempt to tusk him. And you see the boar's long, sharp tusks pierce into the mid region of Malcolm Jarvey, and he goes down, and the boar yanks his head, which causes his tusk to kind of tear out of Malcolm Jarvey instead of just pull out. And then he looks around like, what's next? Still a lot of fury. And all the animals, their cries are reaching even higher crescendo, almost like they're cheering the boar on. As this scene gets bloodier, the cries from the animals and the stamping of hooves and the bouncing up against barn walls just is rising and rising to a crescendo. You could probably also hear the terrified screams of Agnes Jarvey on the porch, kind of like hugging one of the pillars for the porch, like looking around it, but screaming, Malcolm, Malcolm. So, top of the round. The boar is near Malcolm Jarvey, who is on the ground, and the boar is turning around and he's looking for something or someone else to attack.
No, I'm going to attempt to get his attention. I'm going to say, hey, big boy, come on over here. I'm going to ready as soon as he comes to within 10 yards. going to shoot down, sort of try to angle it so I'm not shooting anywhere near Mr. Jarvey,
Okay.
and try to finish him.
All right, so you're going to attempt to convince the boar to come towards you.
Charm it.
And then when it gets closer so that there's less danger of hitting somebody else, you're going to take a
Well,
much
he
closer.
looks like he's looking for his next target. I'm like, right here, bud.
Right, so make me a persuade or intimidate with a bonus dice and see if you can draw the boar's attention.
Where? Persuade. Where's intimidate?
You're in alphabetical order there, bro.
Oh. They're not on the other sheet. Why is intimidate in with firearms?
Because I comes after H in history.
I'm gonna try to intimidate him then.
Okay.
And then I need to.
All right, so that was a simple success. Now, if you would like, since you got a bonus, you change that into a 33.
Oh,
Hard success is 32.
So close.
So if you want to turn it into a hard success, you could spend one luck, or you could just take your basic success.
Does he get a
I'll keep
benefit?
my luck. It's not like pushing a roll.
If there was a benefit for him doing a hard success, if he got more damage, or if he got.
I probably would give some benefit
I gotcha.
to it, and I don't know if I would, how I would do it. It may be
Okay.
just that the situation, he's so convinced the pig to come this way that he's going to have the perfect shot on him when the
I'm
pig
with you.
gets there. So.
Yeah, you're good. I was just wondering.
I think I'll keep that regular success.
All right, so you got a success, and that is essentially your turn. Going here, suey, you're doing pig calls. Really wish, now thinking back on it, that you had actually done a pig call. That would have been perfect. But you know,
Retroactively do it.
let's retcon. I hear
Retcon.
suey. Okay, so that makes it the boar's turn, and he turns towards you and is going to come charging at you, and it's going to take his turn worth of movement to get there. And you'll have an opportunity to take the shot that you've set up on the next turn round. So, Alice, it's your turn. Make me a spot hidden roll.
Spot hidden. A failure at 85.
Okay, so it's dark out here. You can't see a
Didn't
whole
wear my
bunch
glasses.
more than what you already saw. Is that this incredible mass of black liquid is starting to pour out of his mouth. He's been gurgling on it. It wasn't so much unintelligible as he was trying to speak, almost like he was underwater, and he is choking on this stuff. You can see his conscience starting to fade from lack of oxygen.
Okay. Now that the boar's changed trajectory, is he running away from me?
Yes.
Okay. So then I guess I will try to make a first aid roll to see if I can, see if I can administer some kind of first aid, if I know to, like, try to Heimlich or get something out of his mouth, like, figure out what I need to do to help him breathe and get him moving.
So yeah, we'll make a first aid roll, but I want you to tell me which of those paths you're choosing. Are you going to go Heimlich? Are you going to go try to clear the obstruction in his mouth and throat? How do you want to?
I don't think I want to reach into his mouth. So I think I'm going to try to do, like, you know, when somebody's, like, vomiting, you turn them on their side, kind of face down so that it can kind of evacuate, but letting gravity help, and then trying to kind of hit him on his back so to kind of evacuate.
Baby's choking at Pizza Hut.
Yeah.
Slap him on the back real hard and tell him you're doing something for him.
Yeah, exactly.
Gotcha.
That's what I'm going to do.
So give me a first aid roll. Yeah, I think I'm gonna give you a bonus dice because of the way you explained the laying them on the side up for.
All right, so well, let's just see if it's a no. It was a success the first time with a 24. Bonus die was awful.
It was a success. All right, so you, old Pete is not resisting whatsoever. What little consciousness he has left right now, it is still screaming for his mother, and he's a rag doll in your hand. Right? So you lay him over, the blood starts, well, whatever it is, his mouth starts flowing out one side, and then as you pound on him, there's a huge hard cough from him and a lot of just splattering out. But you feel like that it has
Kind of cleared. Okay.
cleared an obstruction. You can hear a little bit of wheezing as some air is actually coming into his body.
Okay.
Make me a luck roll.
Okay. Did you mark off the skills that you got? That you did? Okay, because I had to do mine. All right. Luck roll. Ooh.
Can't spend luck on luck.
Yeah.
Okay, so
57 failure.
then and also in doing this, you come to realize that is not blood. It is some black viscous pus like stuff. And as you lay him down on the side and you pound him and you look at it, you notice that around his mouth and maybe even inside of his mouth there are these like big welts that are bursting open, and black pus is running out of them. Make me a sanity roll.
Gross. Sanity. A failure at 82. So explain to me again what happens when I fail a sanity roll.
So when you fail a sanity roll, then I'm going to tell you how much damage you take.
Okay.
Okay. And you're going to have some reaction.
Okay.
If the amount of damage you take is greater than 5, then you have what is called
Temporary?
temporary insanity, which lasts a number of rounds,
Right.
right? During which you might experience things differently.
Yeah.
And whatnot. And, but there'll always be this little initial bout of madness and then some lingering effects.
Okay.
If that amount of damage takes you over 20% of your total, then you reach indefinite insanity, which lasts much longer, like essentially until cured. And you will have that initial bout of madness, and then the lingering effects are going to linger for until such time as you get some treatment for it.
Right.
So. What is your current? What was your starting sanity level?
60.
Have you lost any since we started playing?
No.
Okay. So 1/5 of 60 is 12. So when you get at 48 or below, that's where indefinite insanity kick in.
Yes.
So you have seen these black pustules and the black oozing stuff that has come out in such great quantities that he was choking on it. I need, and I failed that sanity roll, so give me a 1d3.
So a D6 halved or a D6 like 1, 2.
Yeah,
3, 4.
or you could use the dice roller on roll 20 and select a D3.
There is not a D3 listed. It goes down to a D4.
Go down to advanced.
I can't do a D3.
Yeah, I thought it'd be there too. So yeah, roll a 6-sided dice. 1 and 2 is 1, 2 and 3 is 2, and 3 and 4. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm
I
messing it up.
did. I rolled a 6.
That means you took 3. You lost 3 in insanity points. So
Oh, I accidentally rolled sanity. My bad.
that's okay. So on your character sheet, you will want to knock down that your sanity is down to 57. When you see this, you were calm, cool, collected. Lay him on his side, hit him on his back, clear the obstruction, and everything was going fine. And then as you get a good look at him and you realize what is going on with him to the best you can, you just shriek in terror. And the switchblade that you were holding, you just, in the shriek, you let go of it. You're not sure, like, do it get thrown? Do it get dropped?
Yeah.
You're not sure, but that quick moment of terror caused the shriek. You still got complete control of your faculties right now because you didn't cross any threshold.
Right.
But there was that
Gut reaction.
unnatural reaction that
Okay.
you just had.
Great.
Top of the order. Brutus, the prize boar, sire of so many young suckling pigs that have graced the tables of adventurous pork eaters throughout the Miskatonic Valley, is charging at you. And he has gotten pretty close. Close enough that on his next turn he's going to be able to make an attack against you. So you have lured him over, readied and aimed your rifle. You are close range, and I'm going to give you a bonus die for aiming for a round.
I think the dog heard you talking about pork.
So make your attack. Hey, that was a failure. Use your bonus dice. Oh, and you turn that failure into an extreme
Killed it.
success. So, you timed it just right, and the full blast of this shotgun shell, with very little time to spread and disperse because of the range you let it get to, the full blast goes straight into his head. Roll your damage.
I already did.
15 points of damage.
Yes.
The now shredded body of Brutus, the pulled pork pig, falls over on the ground, completely destroyed. There's very little left of his head. And then there's the big chunk you took out of the side. He's dead on the ground. Malcolm Jarvey is laying bleeding in the farmyard. You can hear some moans. Agnes Jarvey is still screaming. And you just heard your newfound companion scream a second ago. So deep breath, calm down. The immediate aftermath or immediate effects are over, but there are still animals hooting and hollering, and Malcolm Jarvey presumably laying dying on the ground. Your turn. Sorry, it's Greek.
Okay. So I've regained my faculties and tried to regain myself. Can I try to find my switchblade before I get up?
Yeah, only spot here.
It's not going to go well. A failure at 32. Spot hidden so low.
You can spend 7 luck points if you wanted to get that down to a win.
I don't think I will. I think maybe when the sun comes out and I can get some help, come back out and take a look for it.
So still kind of shook about all these things. You start, crawling around the ground. You look a lot like Velma trying to find her glasses. in a Scooby-Doo thing. So,
Yeah.
you're padding along on the ground and not having any luck real right now. You can hear old Pete breathing. Like it is still raspy and it is still liquidy, but there's breaths going on, and you feel like the immediate danger to old Pete has passed.
Okay.
Okay. Jackson, what would you like to do?
I am going to make for Malcolm Jarvey and give him a look over and possibly try to administer first aid.
Okay. So he's got a huge tear in his side where the boar tusk hit him, and instead of just being a puncture wound, the boar snapped his head another way and just tore it out the side. So it is a very jagged cut, and he is losing a lot of blood. So give me a first aid roll. If you want to tell me anything about how you're going about it,
I'm going to take off my vest and attempt to wrap it around his side as a makeshift tourniquet.
Okay.
And tie it off as tight as I can get it.
All right, so give me a first aid roll. And
that is a
Nice.
14 hard success.
pretty good. So you get your vest around him. You can tell he is fading fast, but I believe you've applied enough pressure to at least stop the bleeding.
Mrs. Jarvey, is there a doctor around here?
So Miss Jarvey says, "Well, only the veterinarian.
Bring him out."
Well, he left. He went back to town." Dr. Merritt, Dr. John Merritt. He was out here yesterday, and it'll take a while to get him up into the house. Let's put him up. And she runs inside, and you can hear whatever was on the long farmhouse dinner table just being shoved off onto the floor. And then in like an instant, everything goes quiet. All the animals stop their screaming and howling. And old Pete kind of comes to a little bit. Right? The breathing's a little easier. But yeah, very, very quiet. Jackson, you still have that feeling of being watched. So you look over, and at the door to the barn that you came out of, you can see about 6 little pairs of red beady eyes looking at you. Give me a sanity roll.
Oh,
Failure.
Okay, you take 1 point of sanity. All right, what next?
so I'm gonna try to get Pete up and into the house and like to a washroom to try to like clean him up, get him to a couch, like out of the dirt and the grass and, inside, try to get him up and moving and going to the main house.
Okay. Yeah, so you help him up off of the ground, and he's very feeble. I mean, he was an old man anyway, but now he's like an old man that almost died. And,
Yeah.
very slow moving. He is drenched in this black, viscous, pussy liquid. So give me another luck roll. You said earlier you're trying to avoid the pussiness, but it is all over him. If you're going to help him in there, then there's a chance that you're going to touch
Okay.
or have some of it
On me.
splash on you.
A failure at 88.
Okay. So then make me a constitution roll.
Ooh. A failure at 83. I'm rolling really bad.
So you look down and you notice what you had been trying not to get on you is on you, right? But you feel so stoked, invigorated by just the action, the excitement, the adrenaline that is pumping through you. You look down and you're like, I wish that hadn't happened, but you feel like a strong, empowered woman.
I am woman. I don't need no man. Yeah, so I'm going to try to get him into the washroom, and while they try to get Mr. Jarvey in, I'm going to just try to very loosely, take his shirt off, wipe him down, because it's already on me, just try to get him cleaned up and then get him to the couch. But I don't want to stain Mrs. Jarvey's couch. And just get him a glass of water and then go see about Mr. Jarvey and see if there's anything I can do. I have a little bit of first aid training, so I might be able to, extra pair of
Yeah, well,
hands.
first aid can only be applied to somebody once.
Right.
Any further help you give after that has got to be done on a medicine skill. So, what do you do?
I'm gonna try to track down that veterinarian guy.
So that veterinarian guy, you recognize the name when she said it. That is the gentleman with the white van that you met on the road coming into town when you stopped to help Ms. Green. He was in the white van, a white beard, kind of a ruddy face, polite man. And when he left, he said, "Hey, I'll make sure to take care." And he drove towards Dunwich. In fact, in your discussions with him, I think he'd indicated that he was from Dunwich and that he just came out and started 6 farms. So tracking him down would be a trip to Dunwich.
Miss Green, we probably need to get him to a doctor. I don't think this is something either of us can handle. A veterinarian in Dunwich is much better than we'd be able to do here, and the only way I know to do that is to load him up in the back of the truck and get him there.
So as you guys are standing over him, and Miss Jarvey, who, by the way, his name is Edith, not Agnes. I apologize to you, and especially the poor Mrs. Jarvey. You have a name, and you deserve it. Edith Jarvey is running around, and she's bringing towels and pans of hot water and whatnot, and she is trying to, clean off the blood from him. And every now and then you'll see her kind of wince a little bit and hold her jaw. And she reaches down and starts to undo the vest as she's trying to clean the sword. And you look down, and the wound is not as bad as it looked out in the yard. And the blood flow seems to be stopped.
Mr. Morris, that was some mighty fine first aid you applied there. It's not as bad as I thought it would be, given the tusk that went through him.
I am just speechless. I'm gonna be processing that for a minute.
Mrs. Jarvey, is there something wrong with your face? You keep grabbing at it.
Oh, it's kind of embarrassing, but really, we need to take care of the good Mr. Jarvey for a minute. And you hear him brush her hand away and say, "Woman, quit fussing over me." And he starts trying to sit up on the table.
I'm gonna plant a hand on his shoulder. Whoa, sir! You need to stay right there. You have a hole in your body. You can't get up. Just stay right there.
Man, you need to take it easy. You just got half a slab of bacon sticking out of you.
Yeah, it's pretty funny, son, making pig jokes to a pig farmer. But I'm feeling much better, and he starts becoming pretty insistent about sitting up. There's still a gash wound on him, but the blood flow seems to be minimal, and the edges of it seem to be tightening up a little bit. So as you're sitting around there, he begins to talk. He says, "This is, I don't know, got pigs dying, and now that's my prize sire pig out there shot. I mean, but thank you for doing it. But we're going to be at a bit of a loss without that pig."
I apologize, but I ain't never seen anything like a boar going at somebody like that and finding a little hold, if you know what I mean. And
Yeah, that's. I don't know. There's strange things going on around here. I mean, you saw me having to get rid of some livestock when you pulled in because of the infection. I guess it got to old Brutus too, but and then but I just can't shake the feeling it's got something to do with them Carmodies. I saw old Brendan Carmody. Their farm busted up right against us, and you see them wheat fields right there. Right on the other side of them wheat fields is the Carmody's cornfields. Right? I remember. So look, here's the weird thing. That wheat, you see how grown up it is? It's like a couple of weeks from harvesting.
Yeah.
I harvested that wheat 3 weeks ago. That field should be bare. I harvested the wheat and it's all grown back up. I don't know what to make of it, but I do know that one day I saw Brendan Carmody step out of the cornfields and into my wheat fields, and he was looking kind of rough. Had spiders and bugs crawling all over him, and he didn't seem to take no never mind to it. And he saw me looking at him, and him and that swarm of bugs with him just kind of turned and walked back into his cornfields. But I don't know nothing. I can't explain how that wheat is grown up again, and I'm about to get another harvest out. I can't explain why I ain't needed my glasses in the last 3 weeks. You know, Mrs. Jarvey pops in and says, "Well, I know, dear, and that tooth I lost 20 years ago, it's growing back and it hurts."
I'm sorry, Mr. Teeth, you don't grow back.
She goes up and she opens her mouth and pulls the thing aside, and you can see it just as plain as day. It looks like a baby's teeth cutting through the gums. Right? You see that there's a brand new tooth growing back in this 70-year-old woman's mouth.
Mr. Jarvey, did you see what happened to Pete? And I'm going to kind of glance into the sitting room, and I was like, he was coughing up some kind of black ichor, and there's like sores inside of his mouth. Is this a? Do you know what caused it, or why is he sick?
So she looks, and Mr. Jarvey, who's doing a lot better, he looks over, and they're both like, Get him out of here. He's got the infection. That's what was on the pigs we just had to burn.
That I will take that moment to look down at myself and say, "Oh, okay. I'll go get Pete. Pete, I'm gonna take you back to your little shed, and I'm gonna help get him out there." And then, did I get it on like my skin or just like my
a little bit got on your hands.
Okay. So I am going to probably promptly go upstairs and strip down, bathe, and scrub to the point of pain to get, because she's not about the infection.
Right. So give me a scrub unknown disease roll.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, absolutely. At that point, as you got out of these clothes and you're scrubbing off in the bathroom up there, you realize that if you brought a few less books, you could have had 3 sets of extra clothes instead of just the 1 extra set of clothes that you bought. Because in your mind you're thinking, not only do I not want to put this set of clothes back on, I'm not sure I want to own this set of clothes.
Yeah. So my change of clothes I'll put on, and then the clothes that I'm wearing I'll probably put in like their wastebasket and carry it downstairs and take it outside. And as I'm going, Mr. Malcolm, I'm like, where's your burn pile? Because
So you know right where it is, because right when you came into
they were burning
you
the
saw
hog.
the bonfire that they're burning the thing. Old Pete yells something or mumbles something about ain't nothing wrong with me, quit all your fussing, I'll take my own self out of here. And he walks out and heads over to his little shack, which is off to the side. And you see all the little farm dogs like follow him into his little shack.
Aw, cute. Yeah, once I get done, I'm gonna head inside and Malcolm, Edith, when did the infection with the animals start?
Well, I mean, that pig you saw me throw on the burn pile, that was the second one we've had to do in the last about 3 weeks. That's why we had Dr. Merritt out. Basically, he just told us every time a pig or a horse or cow shows signs of that, then just separate them from the rest of the herd. And if it gets to a point where it's got them like welts and blisters on them that bust and the black stuff comes out, then you go ahead and burn them and just keep trying to separate them, and hopefully it won't take over. I don't think so. A couple of weeks is how long it's been having us.
So 3 weeks since you haven't had to wear your glasses. You replanted, you've had a crop regrow, your animals have been sick. What?
Only a couple of our animals have been sick now.
Right.
The 2 pigs we had to burn, and the minute we saw it in them, well, we got them out of there. But
I guess my question is what happened 3 weeks ago?
don't know.
So I know as Alice that on June 13th was when Rhodes wrote the first letter where he scratched out and was talking about his mom a lot. But the one that Rick Stevens actually received and gave to me was from June 22nd. So how was that, about 3 weeks ago? June 22nd?
It's September 24th right now.
So 3 to 4 weeks ago.
No, it's more like 8.
Oh, sorry. I don't know why. I forgot August
That's
exists.
more like 12 months ago.
Yeah.
12 weeks ago.
12
June,
units
July,
of time.
July to August to September.
Okay, I forgot August exists. I don't even like August. Okay,
does?
nobody. So, I mean, when did you see Brennan Carmody come into your field with all the bugs on them?
I had been back around that time, maybe
3 weeks ago.
Maybe 4 or 5 weeks ago. I don't. None of this stuff made me mark it on my calendar. You know what I'm saying?
No, I understand.
And I know we haven't seen the Carmody's paw in a couple of months. So, they said that, I don't know, we figured he just died. And now there's nothing holding them boys back. And they're probably, lots of rumors about them getting into shine and setting up stills on their property and without their dad to keep them in check.
Oh, that's very unfavorable. And
Yeah, I've heard
moonshining,
that rumor too.
it's really unpleasant business.
Well, and this is Mr. Jarvey. This time he gets up and he's leaning a little and he's holding his side, but he gets up off the table. He's like, Well, I think we're going to turn in and see, it's going to be light in a couple hours and we're going to have to get back to work. I'll see what I look like in the morning, decide if I need to ride into Dunwich or what. But I think best for everybody just try to get as much sleep as they can for the rest of the night. So him and Mrs. Jarvey leave the room. The farmhands left with Pete. So basically, you and Jackson are alone in the front room, the main dining room area.
I don't know about you, but I think that this day has completely gone off the rails.
I'd agree with that.
I kind of imagine we both just kind of sit in the sitting room on the couch and just kind of like process for a second, because we both had bouts of insanity where we had to. Well, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to sit on the couch and just kind of take in the whole.
Yeah, and you guys really had very little time to get to know each other. A brief conversation on the roadside,
Right.
And then you were here and dinner, and now you have a shared experience. So
I don't know about you, but I'm about ready for a little hit on my pipe.
Yeah, please go ahead. I don't smoke.
I'm gonna get out my flask and take a swig and pass.
Yeah, I guess. And I'll take a swig too. She doesn't normally drink, but today's one of those days. If you were ever gonna, today's the day.
So if I may be so forward as to ask, what exactly brought you out to these parts anyhow?
I'm looking for a missing colleague, Mr. Henry Rhodes, who was working at a dig site just outside of Blackwater Creek, and apparently he had some trouble with the Carmody brothers, and so now I'm trying to figure out what's going on. He was here digging up Cade's Rest. I'm not sure if you ever heard of it, but it was said to be a cursed piece of land just outside of Blackwater Creek.
Now, what do you think might be the correlation, if you will, between a cursed piece of land and somebody, I don't know how to put it, there's something very peculiar about the Carmody's shine. And as I'm sure you're aware of, they're probably making their shine from the corn. And then around 3 weeks ago, a Carmody is seen in the field. And suddenly, the animals eating the wheat are coming down with something.
Yeah, and it's just strange that a woman in her twilight years is growing back teeth, and a man who we literally saw have a chunk taken out of him by a tusk is walking up the stairs to go to bed. I don't know what the correlation is. It's not. I've never encountered or read anything about something quite like this, but it does seem all to be happening central right around here, and it does seem a bit odd.
I think possibly we might need to go check out that dig site together. I think something might be going down out there, and I feel like the job I was sent here to accomplish is already partially accomplished.
What were you sent out here for?
Well, I had to figure out what was making the Carmody brothers shine so good and inform them that they would be working for my boss.
I'm sorry. Are you saying that you work in bootlegging?
I didn't say none of that. You can assume whatever you want. I'm just telling you why I'm here.
Kind of shifts over on the couch just a little further. Well, you are quite good with that, with
For all I know.
with your shotgun, so
My boss is going to be using that corn to make grits.
Right.
Hominy. I believe y'all call it up here.
Yes.
Cream of wheat.
Why did you say it like that?
Why is there so much emphasis on the H? Look, I think we just need to go back to bed. And in the morning we can figure this out. I have to try to find my switchblade that I dropped outside, but it's too dark and I can't see. In the morning we can make a game. We can try to figure out what we need to do. As of right now, I am exhausted.
All right, so you're going to head back upstairs to go to bed. Will you be heading back out to the barn to sleep?
As most cowboys do, he's going to sort of think out loud on the couch, stroke his little goatee. Well, I don't reckon it'd do me any good to go back to sleep. If them animals start messing around again, I'm probably just going to have to get right back up. I reckon I should probably go check out that Carmody place while it's a little bit dark.
All right, so you head upstairs and you're stroking the goatee, and we've just gotten past a lot of commotion in the barnyard, a dead pig, a stuck pig farmer, a gurgling and babbling old Pete. Crisis has been averted, new information discovered, and Alice Green has retired, and cowboy turned moonshiner Jackson Morris, having a bit of a think, pondering, if you will, has decided that maybe he'll take the dark early morning hours to scope some stuff out. So tell me what you'd like to do, Jackson.
So I have an idea of where the corn is from coming
So
in,
you've
right?
got two ideas on how you could get to the Carmody Farm. You know that when you came in your car on the road, that there was a fork, and the right fork brought you here. The left fork, based on everything that Mr. Jarvey has told you, you assume probably leads to the Carmody Farm. So one thing you could do would be backtrack on the road and go up that other fork to the Carmody Farm. They also know, based on Malcolm Jarvey's description, that you could go through the wheat field and eventually you're going to hit cornfield and you'll know you're on the Carmody Farm. Then the question is, walking through those cornfields, are you going to come out at the Carmody Farm or come out on the other side of the Carmody Farm? How would you navigate through the cornfields to get to the farmhouse? Not knowing exactly where it is. You follow me?
I follow you. But I don't think I want to take the road in.
Okay.
So I will. Have I seen a box or small step ladder around?
Trying to see over the castle walls.
Trying to
I mean, you
feel
could
the
get a
door.
box or I could describe it to
I
you.
could describe it to you.
I'm sure that laying up against one of the several barns or sheds in this farm setting, the farmyard, that you could find a standard 12 by 12 by 12 crate that had something in it if you wanted.
All right, I'm going to go find one and empty it.
Okay.
And then I'm going to carry it
You
like a
find
turtle.
an empty one, so look at you.
I'm going to carry it like a turtle.
Okay.
And the first sign of trouble, I'm just going to dip in.
Put your head in the box.
Turtle up.
Okay.
And
Is that
they'll never
turbulent enough
know.
for you?
They'll never know why there's a box out there. It's a person obviously didn't bring it.
Yes, the 1 foot by 1 foot by 1 foot box is going to completely obscure your human body.
Did you say 1 foot by 1
He
foot?
said 12 by 12 by 12. Did you think he meant feet? We're
Yeah.
going to carry a 12 foot by 12 foot box.
I mean, I got
foot
55
cube.
strength.
I meant a foot cube.
Dang.
I thought it was a bit of ostrich to fit in there.
A stretch.
Ostrich. A stretch. An ostrich to fit in there.
Yeah, I got it.
Ostrich.
He was just sticking his head in a box.
Oh, okay, I got it. I'm with you. Sorry, I
My
ruined your joke.
apologies. You know, at some point you can actually, you know, like pay some of the points you get from watching on this thing and ask for a Steve pun. But based on that one, you probably never will.
Never gonna happen again.
That one was a bit of
A stretch.
So, how are you going to go about making your way to the Carmody Farm? Sounds like a stand-up joint in L.A., doesn't it? The Carmody Farm?
The comedy farm.
That was a freebie.
The Carmody brothers. That's when you said that. I was like, how funny are they, though? So I'm gonna. I know which way the fork is from where I'm at. So I'm gonna kind of try to, in my mind, suss out where I think
So I'm going to
the
give you
farm
guys
would be
this.
situated.
It's a map of the Carmody Farm. I'm sorry, the Jarvey Farm layout. Okay. And you see that the road coming in there in the southwest corner, right? That road, if you went down long enough, you would find the fork, and if you turned right, you'd be heading kind of northwest. So based on that fork, you know that the wheat fields are on the left side of that map. And they're walking through there, we get you to the cornfields, and the Carmody Farm is over in that direction.
I'm gonna be going through the wheat fields, kind of west southwest.
Okay, so that you got a good chance of, if you don't come out of the farm, you'll at least hit the road.
Yeah.
Gotcha. So cool. You step off the porch and you're walking across the barnyard.
And I am making a little bit of effort to kind of stealthily move through here.
Okay. So things are pretty quiet here, so stealth without a check right now, but do give me a spot hidden roll.
Success.
So you step about 3 or 4 steps off the front porch, and off to your left you see a switchblade lying on the ground.
Yeah, I'm gonna pick it up and put it in my pocket.
So you make your way across the barnyard, kind of going between the chicken coop and the cattle shed. It's probably about 4 o'clock in the morning. That you know, instead of saying it's darkest right before the dawn, it is pretty dark, but you can start to feel the dew point. You know, it's so the moisture's going to start collecting on the ground. You know, you're an old country boy from way back. You figure you got a couple hours before
Sun up.
yeah, before the first rays of the sun start to paint the sky. Jeez, that was freaking poetic.
Paint the sky.
So you go into the wheat fields. By the time you get 5 or 6 steps into the wheat fields, you again have that feeling of being watched. Make a spot hidden roll for me.
10.
You are rocking the spot hidden roll, so that's an extreme success on the spot hidden. So, you know, as you're walking between the rows of wheat, you can see 1 or 2 rows over. In either direction, there's like rats or possums or whatever, and their little beady eyes just tracking you, and they're you know, only 4 or 8 feet away, depending on what row they're in. And normally you would expect that a human this close would cause them to to scurry, but they're not. They're just watching you. They're not making any attempts to come at you, but they'll lock eyes with you.
Gonna take another little moment to ponder. I have a little knowledge of occult things from my uncle's journal.
Okay.
I'm gonna try to think about if I have read or heard of this sort of thing happening with animals before.
So give me an occult roll. And you guys remember to put a tick mark by any successful skill that you use.
Yes.
I'm gonna use luck to make that 47 failure a 45 success.
That is quite a beefy occult score. You're really just a spiritualist disguised as a cowboy, aren't you?
Well, my uncle had a lot of encounters.
I mean, cowboys were very superstitious.
Yeah, no, I like it. So,
My daddy thought he met the devil one time.
Is it your mama? Just kidding. Kidding.
My daddy respected women.
But not you.
okay, so in the readings of the journals or books or whatever that you say it was your dad or your uncle?
It was my uncle's first, and it passed to my dad, and he used it for a while, and then it passed to me.
You remember reading about cases or situations where animals became enchanted's not quite the right word, and neither is possessed, but that certain people were able to use animals as their eyes and ears. And the way these things are acting, it makes you remember that passage that you read. Because an animal would have no reason to be watching you this closely, but you could understand why a human would. And that's what triggers your memory about the passage you read about some humans being able to, through summoning or spells or whatever, use wildlife as their eyes.
I'm going.
Take mark by that, by the way. That was a good.
I used luck.
You can put a tick mark by it. Have you read them?
No, I think we went through this last week.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that is the case. If you use luck, you do not get the tick mark for it. Well, we'll double check that. But that was a good use of both the occult skill and a couple of luck points.
So I'm going to take measure of them. And the one who looks like it could drink the most whiskey out of all the rats and possums, I'm going to walk over to him. I'm going to say, look here, I don't know who you are, but I ain't got no problem with you whatsoever. Whatever's going on here, I just want to figure it out and go on home. So if you want, come right up to me. I'll talk to you. And then I'm just going to walk off from the possum and go
Okay,
back.
so when you walk up to the possum, backed up a little bit, but it didn't turn, right? It just always kept a distance between you, but he stared you straight in the eye. And remember when you came through town that first day and you saw the stray dogs trot across the roadway and one turned and looked at you, and for a second you thought you saw some intelligence behind those eyes? You get that feeling.
I'm going to shake it off and go back on my original to the cornfield.
Okay. So after a while, and the whole time, you still have that feeling of being watched, and if you turn and look for it, you'll eventually find a set of eyes looking at you. Sometimes it's a mouse, sometimes it's a rat, sometimes it's a possum, but just small vermin type creatures. One time you're certain that you got into a staring contest with a snake. But it's the entire time. None of them make any move towards you, nor do they make moves away from you. Unless you come in real close to them, right? They always try to keep a safe, distance from you, but never running away, kind of thing.
They're social, but distant.
And eventually you make it through the wheat field, and there's a little path, kind of like if somebody was walking their property line or whatever, that is worn between the wheat fields, and on the other side are cornfields. Now the corn in these fields, it is towering stalks, like some over 12 feet tall, really tall. You've seen corn growing in fields before, and these are massive. Some of them, the stalks are rotting. There's a black green viscous liquid that is kind of seeping out of some of them, and you smell a sweet corruption in the air, like, cinnamon buns mixed with mortuary. And you think immediately, this reminds you of when you took a good whiff of the moonshine back at Declan's office. The stalks, it is a calm and breezeless night, but you still see stalks swaying throughout the cornfield. But the best you can feel, there is no breeze that is calm.
Is it isolated, like in a couple of the rows, or is it the whole field?
So neither. It's something in between that, right? Occasionally you'll see some stalks kind of swaying over there and a few, but it's not like, this sway goes through there like a wave at an arena or something.
Now, normally corn isn't quite 12 feet tall. Normally it's 8, 9, somewhere in there. And you can kind of duck down and see through a little bit of the rows. Is this taller corn easier to see through the rows of?
So all the corn is taller, right? And probably 12 foot is the lower end of these towering stalks. But they are also very hardy and very bushy, right? So, and a corn stalk is just the very bottom of it, right? That doesn't have the leaves. So maybe if you duck down, you get a clearer vision for like maybe 2.5, 3 feet of stalks where there's less going in there. But, these are planted at, standard row lengths, widths. So they are so bushy and alive and growing so well that there's this kind of intermingling of the branches or the leaves from one and leaves the other, and it almost creates kind of like that old, the pictures you see of the old country roads with the oak trees have created a tunnel. You kind of get that effect. And when you've been down there, you can see. It's not like hordes, but there are animals, rats, possums, raccoons, snakes, huge freaking spiders. And they all tend to watch you, staring at you with they're it was a boldness, right? You would expect this close that the wildlife would scurry.
They're more like cows than something you'd encounter in the wild. They're fairly domesticated seeming.
The cow, if the cow had a look on its face and said, "Come at me, bro."
Yeah, screw you.
Right? They're bold, and staring. And as you walk, are you going to continue walking through?
Yeah, I'll continue walking.
All right. It's eerie as hell. All right. What moonlight there is really, as you move farther into the cornfields, and the thickness of the corn is really blocking out the light. I was going to make you make a luck roll to see if you remember to bring your flashlight with you, but you had it in your hand when you got up out of the barn, so I'm going to assume it was there with you. So you can use your flashlight to light up your way, which contributes a little to the eeriness too, right? You get this little tunnel of hazy light, and in the periphery, it is making eyes that you didn't even know were there flash with a red glow. So you know that you're being watched by quite a number of animals. As you walk through, eventually it does break, and you step out onto the road to the Carmody Farm. On the other side of the road is another cornfield, and it is grown up just as much as this one is. Unnaturally vibrant stalks of corn. Occasionally there are the rotten, oozing corn stalks, but most of them are producing like you would not believe for corn. It makes the road look a lot like that old oak tree road I described a minute ago, right? The huge stalks on both sides just create this tunnel effect on the road, and it blocks out most all of the sunlight. But the road's wide enough that the branches aren't really touching each other, so you get a little bit of dim light coming from below. You could probably turn off your flashlight if you wanted to save the batteries. And
Probably will do that.
okay. And you know that if you turned left here, you'd go back towards the fork in the road, and if you turn right, go towards what you suspect is the Carmody Farm.
Can I see anything to the right so far?
No, just the road goes on a little bit and bends a little bit to the northwest.
I'm gonna dip into the first row of corn and keep walking with a little attention to patting my steps.
So just off the road into the cornfield, using as much stealth as possible. Go ahead and give me a stealth roll.
Extreme success.
Okay. You are just, from years of being a country boy, you know where the softest dirt is going to be in between these rows. You know, maybe it's not like dead center of these rows where there's an opportunity for the ground to get packed, but a little closer to the stalks. And if you walk there, you do much more silently, and you're doing an amazing job at being stealthy. You still feel like you're being watched the whole time, and you still occasionally catch a glimpse of a rat or rodent just watching you go by, giving you the steely rat eyes. And as you move up forward, then you see that the road opens up into another farm. And this farmyard's got several buildings. The largest of it is a barn, but the barn doors are like one of them is half open. So from your vantage point, you can tell that this. In fact, give me a spot hit.
That's a 75 failure. I used all my luck on that stealth roll.
Not all, but all you're going to use.
So you can see
No, I mean the
What?
dice luck.
what you would expect to be. Like when you open a barn, it's usually like big open area and then stalls on the side or whatnot. But with a little bit the doors left open, you can see that it does not have that big open area. Like there is stuff in there. You just can't make out what that stuff is right away.
Could I make an idea roll to think about whether or not it's the size a still would fit in?
Yeah, you don't need to roll. The barn is big enough that a still could be in there. If you're asking, is the shapes you see in there about still size shape? And no idea roll's going to do that for you. You're just going to have to get closer to take a look, or have done better on the spot hidden.
I just have no player knowledge about actual stills, so I was wanting to.
Okay, well, yeah.
Suss out.
Yeah, a still would fit into this barn, no problem.
Okay.
So
You totally know.
there's a smaller barn off to one side. There is a garage, and you can see through the openings in the garage what looks like a farm truck and an old Model T, and parked right outside of that is a tractor. There's another large shed on the property. Doors closed, but you can assume it holds shed kind of things. And you can see what must be stables, and give me a listen roll.
Alphabetical order, bud.
Alphabetical.
That is a 42 failure.
All right, you hear some sounds coming from that, but you can't make out what it is, but it's animalesque. Animalesque? Animal-teen.
Animal-teen.
Sure.
Yes.
So, yeah, there is that. And near that, just to the northwest of that, you see a huge grain silo. There's also a little, like pump with a water trough right next to it. Classic Western movie. As a cowboy, you're probably drawn to this long wooden trough with a pump. I should get in a fight and fall in that.
Right. Ass first.
The night is young.
Yeah. So you're right inside the first row of corn. You're looking out into this the farmyard. So there's the farmhouse, a shed, a garage, a large barn, a second shed, and then the building you heard some animal noises from, and the grain silo.
Do any of the buildings have light that doesn't look like it's coming from outside?
Yeah, at the far end of this thing is the building that looks like a farmhouse. It's got a little porch on the front of it, and you see a dim light on the first floor of this. You don't see any movement in there. Kind of like just left a candle burning in the front room or something, but you can tell that it is a farmhouse in there. It's one dim light in there.
I'm going to sort of hunker down and make my way a little bit quicker, but still putting effort to being as quiet as possible to the bigger barn. Is it the one closest to me?
It is. So I'm going to give you this map. Is that this one? Yep. So you're coming in from down here, and this is the biggest barn. But that's the layout there. You're going to find a couple things out, like the one big building with the animal noises is a stable. But other than that, I don't think there's anything here that you can't So that'll give you an idea of the situation, right? You're on the south end of that. So the large barn is closest to you.
Gonna make my way over to it and see if there are any side windows.
There are. But give me a stealth roll and make it with a bonus dice. It's dark. You're being extremely stealthy. It's not a time. Oh, another.
What the heck?
Success. So you have made
Couldn't
it.
even roll better if you wanted to.
You made it across this barnyard.
Okay. Hold on, my roll 20s.
Lost.
There we go. I'm gonna roll the bonus.
You couldn't have done better if you wanted to. You can't roll better than a 0 on that one.
No, you could have done 2 zeros.
Right, but you're only rolling. The second dice is only rolling the tens column.
Yeah,
The
but
one
it would have been
column stays
impressive.
And impossible is our point.
2 zeros.
Because you couldn't, you would have always kept the 9. You would just be replacing the 0 on this side, and
With another 0.
which would have still.
Which
Oh, you just wanted to.
009.
I get what you're saying.
Two
No, I
steps
wasn't
away from
actually
license
saying
to
that. I
kill.
was just being dumb.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you make it up to the side of the barn, the south side of the barn, and there are a couple windows down this side. You peer into those windows, and you see unmistakably that this barn has been converted into a distillery. There are vats, 2 stills in here, dozens of whiskey barrels. And you also see sleeping on a bale of hay, a farmhand is your first thought, but give me a spot hidden look.
Failure.
Yeah, it's a large guy, corn fed. You'd assume farm worker. Sometimes.
All right. No activity in here. Just sleepy dude. Gonna go peep around in the garage real quick.
Okay. Yeah, so there is a truck and an old Model T. And outside of that is the tractor. I just want to check something real quick.
I'm good at sneaking because I'm not dummy thick.
You're not
Yeah. So
tapping.
yeah,
Just
couple
tractor.
vehicles. Give me a spot hidden or mechanical. I know, weird combination, right?
Trying to figure out what kind
That'll
of.
be a spot hidden. That's a failure.
All right, so
Can I push that roll?
yes, if you push that roll, you're taking a little extra time in here. So you feel like maybe staying in one place too much. If you push the roll and don't make it, I'm going to require another stealth roll.
I'm digging around pretty heavy. I'm sort of thinking I might find something to indicate to me who has been buying the shine so that I have that information when I confront them later. And it's a worse failure.
Okay. So as you're looking around, there are gas cans, there's an oil can here, there, a bucket or whatever, and you're digging around trying to get some more information about these vehicles. You come around the corner and there was around the corner of one of the cars. There's a can there. Make me a stealth roll. On a failure, you're going to kick the can. It's going to create
Kick the bucket. Campaign over.
Okay, so you come around and you kick this bucket. It goes clattering against the walls, and it makes. This is a pretty eerily quiet night, right? And this just broke the quiet. I mean, during the day, you may have thought, nobody could possibly have heard that. It's not that big a deal. But in this night, and as quiet it is, it sounds like, an avalanche just happened. It breaks the quiet that much.
It's like how the microwave going off at 2 a.m. is 10 times louder than in the middle of the day.
Exactly. And where were you when I was looking for an analogy?
I'm sorry.
Yeah, it was loud. What you gonna do?
I am gonna walk straight back towards the cornfield.
Give me a listen.
Yeah, it's a terrible failure.
You lost your streak, babe.
I gained a new streak.
A new bad streak.
All right. So as you're going back to the cornfield, are you just moving as fast as you can, or are you attempting to be stealthy as you do it? What?
I'm moving.
Okay. All right. So you've got to go by the big distillery barn now. As you go by there, give me a spot hidden roll. Okay.
That was a success.
Out of the corner of your eye, you believe, and you're not taking the time to stop and really get it, but just as you're passing by through one of the windows, you believe you saw movement on that bale of hay where a dude was sleeping. And you're paranoid as hell right now. You're thinking he must have heard it. He's getting up to investigate. So.
All right, instead of going straight on to the Jarvey Farm, I'm going to make a right, going towards the road, and go towards that road.
Okay, yeah, you get there, you're at the road, there's cornfields on either side of you. Are you gonna step just into the cornfields like before, or are you gonna stay on the road? What are you gonna do?
I am going to sit down in just about the second or third row of the corn, take a minute to regain my breath, see what's going on around me.
And did you pick a spot where you could look through and see the farmyard? Or?
Not the farmyard, but I wanted to be able to see the road and the drive.
The driveway up into their yard. Yeah, okay. So, so you sit there for a good few minutes. Again, the overwhelming feeling of being watched comes over you. You don't hear any noises or see any lights come on in the direction of the farm, but the feeling of being watched is really intense now. Because since you're just on the inside, just on the edge, there's a little bit of dim light from the moon filtering through. And as you sit there and wait, trying to make sure that enough time passes, and you look around, it's like at a space of about 10 feet out, you're almost completely encircled by possum, rodents, rats, raccoons, just staring at you. Some of them tilting their head a little bit like, what are you going to do? But about 5 minutes passes, nothing happens up in the farmyard.
Once I've caught my breath, I'm going to stand up and brush off my Levi's, start walking up the road back toward the Jarvey Farm.
This time in the road.
In the road, yeah.
Okay. So you walk for a few minutes, you get to the fork in the road. If you kept heading south, that would take you to the main road into Blackwater Creek, or you could hang the hard left, and that would take you back up to the Jarvey Farm. This time it's probably about 5:30 in the morning, and you know that sunup's going to be next 30 or 45 minutes. So you're back at the Jarvey Farm. What would you like to do there?
I am going to probably.
There's a couple of rocking chairs on the porch. You
I'll
do that
catch one
cowboy
of them.
thing, sit in the rocking chair and throw your boots up on the porch railing, pull your hat down over your
Take a
head,
nap.
put a string of a tweed of straw, hay, maybe wheat.
I don't think I'm going to mess with weed in these parts anymore.
Okay.
It's fair.
Not gonna put the weed in your mouth.
I don't think so.
Okay. So you almost had the perfect cowboy at rest picture, but
I can still have my pipe hanging out.
all right, fair enough. You pull it down, and anybody that would come up, and they just think you'd spent the night on the porch. So the sun comes up, the rooster crows, animals start making noises right there at when you get that purpley light in the sky. It's a little bit light around. The crickets start chirping again, and it's then that you realize that through that whole darkest part of the night, you probably should have heard some of those night animal type sounds, but it just starts up right then. And pretty soon, the farmhands, they come out of their sleeping quarters and start rustling around and grabbing buckets and doing whatnot. To everybody else, it looks like you probably just feel like you did the chivalrous thing and sat guard on the front porch. You awake and come downstairs, and your newfound acquaintance is sitting on the porch.
Before I come down, I actually wanted to try to do something. So I have the letter that Rhodes sent to McTavish that Rick Stevens gave me. And then I have the letter that Rhodes wrote that I found in the wastebasket. But I also am trained in forgery. Can I possibly use some of my forgery skill to look at those and decide if they were both written by Rhodes, or if the one that says everything is fine and everything is, no reason to
Yeah,
if it's...
sure. Make a forgery check, and you've got privacy and some time to spend on this, so I'm going to let you use a bonus dice on this. You take your time and do it right.
They didn't give me my bonus die
You need
thing.
to turn verbosa.
I had verbose on.
If you go to the top of the place,
It's on.
Yeah, it was on.
All right, well, go to the dice roller and just roll what's inside of that.
No, I still failed.
Okay. So you see no obvious signs of forgery. The handwriting looks about the same. And yeah, you can't make any difference.
I just want to see if it was, him, or if it was somebody written it on his behalf. Okay. So then I will head downstairs.
If it's a forgery, it's a good enough forgery that it would pass by normal people looking at it. Because that's as good as your roll was. Just a normal person saying, is this the same handwriting as this?
Right.
So if it was a forgery, it was that
I'm
good.
better with official seals and things like that that would be used for...
Ming vases.
Right.
Sure.
Standard handwriting is a bit mundane. So then I'll head downstairs and...
As you head down, on the table is like a pile of fresh baked biscuits and you know, like some country ham or whatever is thrown in there. It's like Mrs. Jarvey did not put a lot of effort into breakfast this morning, but she made sure there was some sustenance for people.
So when I see that he's kind of propped up on the porch, before I go out there, I'll stop and probably make 2 cups of coffee and maybe, you know, a little plate of ham or whatever. I mean, he did manage to save everybody from my rampaging board, kind of just bring him out a cup of coffee and, you know, a biscuit and maybe a little bit of ham. And I'm going to walk out, and when he doesn't acknowledge me, I'm just going to kind of like knock his boots off the railing, you know, that really startling way to wake up. Be like, good morning.
Good morning. I hope you slept well.
I did. I have brought coffee
Thank you.
and food, courtesy of Miss Jarvey. So did you not go back out to sleep in the barn?
Nah.
Is it not comfortable in the barn? I mean, I feel kind of bad. I'm taking up the nice room and you're having to sleep in a drafty old barn.
No, I had other business to attend to.
At 4 a.m?
Man's got to eat.
I suppose so. So you suggested maybe we both go out to the dig site together, and I've thought on it a little bit this morning, and I agree, given everything that's happened, it might be best if someone were to accompany me. I would like to stop by in town and see if I can procure some supplies. I happen to be wearing my last set of clean clothes, and honestly, I'm still a bit shooken up from last night, and I intend to maybe try to purchase a firearm,
All right.
if that'd be okay with you to drive us into town.
You don't need my permission to buy a
I
firearm.
wasn't asking your permission to buy the firearm. I was asking if it was okay for you to drive us into town.
Oh, yeah.
Yes. So then I guess we'll get ourselves put together and hop in this truck and drive down.
All right, well, you haven't seen Malcolm today, but before you jump into the truck and pop, Mrs. Jarvey comes running out. Thank you for staying, and she fawns over you, Jackson, for, you know, she was on the porch and watched the whole thing. But like, you saved her husband's life, and she apologizes profusely. There's never that kind of commotion. It's just a quiet place, and you pay good money, and she offers to give you your money back because she feels like that was not what you had signed up for when you rented a room from her.
And I refused to take my money back and tell her I would have paid that money simply to have enjoyed that wonderful dinner. And that if she'd be so willing, we may need lodging for an additional night, depending on how our events of the day go, and if she would be quite all right with us continuing to stay as needed.
Well, I'm shocked that you want to stay here and honored. And she looks over at Jackson. Absolutely, you could stay another night, and you can tell she's not fawning over him. She realizes that somebody with a gun who knows how to use it after last night might be good. And she said, well, if you're going into town, you might mention to Sheriff Sprouston what has happened out here, but I don't put much stock in that doing much. I mean, we tried to tell him about, you know, the Carmody boys and how they were probably moonshine and everything. He said he'd look into it, but ain't nothing ever come of it. So I don't know if he just doesn't care to get off his porch long enough to find out what the good folk in this town need, or if there are other reasons for it. But I don't want it to be said we kept anything from law enforcement. So if you would just mention it to Sheriff Sprouston what happened again, I don't expect that he's going to do much. But when you do see him, you might mention again that I'm wondering, did he ever check on the Carmody brothers? Like, because, you know, they got a couple of them armed thugs up there with them now, and it supports our theory that they are moonshining. So you take that information to the Good sheriff, I would appreciate it.
We certainly will. And I'll give a kind of knowing and somewhat condescending look towards Jackson when she mentions the thugs and moon shining and all that stuff. Just that kind of like over the glasses, like,
Right. So you give him that look while she gives him an adoring knight in shining armor in my view look. If by looking at Jackson you can tell that he engages in less than legal activities, if that is visible, she is blind to every bit of it.
he can do
is
no.
just the hero of the farm right now.
Okay.
So y'all get in your truck. While you're talking to her, and before you can make it to your truck, you see the farm's tractor go off down the road.
To get my call?
Probably. In fact, you probably saw him throw some heavy chains on the back of the tractor and then go off. So you guys start to head back into town, and you've got a couple minute drive, right? And it's this old country road that's going to take you down. It's more of a country path, and then you're going to hit the main road, and a turning west will take you into Blackwater Creek. As you're going down that road, what are you thinking, Miss Green? What goes through your head as you're starting your first full day in Blackwater Creek?
Well, I think I'm really focusing on trying to figure out what would have changed, in 3 weeks that's causing such polar opposite effects. Like, in some people, it's causing them to heal faster, to regrow teeth, to not need their glasses, but it's in other people, it's causing them to choke on black ichor. It's killing off animals. It's killing some plants, but some plants are growing, and I'm kind of, I think, pondering over what could possibly be causing such polar opposite responses that seem to have occurred at the same time. And then, right, I'm kind of watching as we go, and the things that kind of made me feel uncomfortable when we drove through the first time, trying to watch them a little more carefully, because now I know something is wrong. I can't put my finger on it, but something is obviously wrong. And the things I dismissed before, I'm less likely to dismiss now, Yeah.
So Jackson, you're in the driver's seat and you're piloting your truck, flatbed, but it's got the wooden rails along the side, perfect for throwing some 12 by 12 by 12 boxes, crates of liquor.
That's inches, not feet.
And you're having the same driving issues that you had the previous day. The ruts on these roads are really made more for a thinner wheelbase of like a tractor than your truck. So it's like you can try to ride just on the edges of one or the road. And in the seat next to you, Alice Green has got this 1,000-yard stare. She's staring off and, she's thinking about something. And you look up in your rearview mirror and you catch the glimpse of the fork in the road, the one that you just came down and you see in your rearview mirror the dark road through the cornfields that leads up to the Carmody place, the same road you came down on foot. And you notice that even in the light of day, that path of road is very dark from the corn, and it's grown to such incredible heights and bending over the road. What goes through your mind?
At this point, he's wondering whether it's a better idea to go on back to Boston and hire a few punks to help him out here, or to go and try to negotiate to buy that farm. Because he's pretty much sussed out that there's nothing special about the moonshine that didn't come from the corn. So he knows his next step in that area.
Okay. So as you think that, and you're about to pull your eyes down from the rearview mirror and back to the road in front of you, you see a lone raccoon, normally a nocturnal animal, cross the dark part of the road, the fork that leads to the Carmody place. He stops in the middle of the road turns towards you, rises up on his back paws, so he's kind of sitting, and locks eyes with you in your rearview mirror for just a minute. And that's where we'll stop for the night.
Nah. Oh, and I love how Alice has seen none of the creepy animals. She's just like, yeah, whatever. And like he's over here being accosted by every animal that walks by him. They're like, hey man, fuck off.
Like the complete opposite of a Disney princess.
Right. Like none of them want nothing to do with you. They're all like, screw around and find out, bro.
Maybe
Fight.
if you whistle a happy tune, it'll help you clean your house.
Maybe.
Or try to kill you in your sleep. Could be either.
So thanks everybody for watching. When we pick up next week, our intrepid investigators Alice Green and Jackson Morris will be heading back into the town proper of Blackwater Creek. Miss Green's decided she's gonna get up and get her something to shoot, and we'll see where it goes from here. Thanks for joining.
Thank you. And check us out on Twitter at @%OutWest.
And on Spotify, our podcast goes up with this in audio form every week. And a YouTube that right now is RPG Wiz, but that might change.
We'll see. We're working on the branding. Thanks, y'all. Have a good night.
Bye, everybody.